This right here is the original first key to my Lamborghini Murcielago. Today we are finally going to tell the story of whatever happened to my Murcielago. And it's kind of a sad story, but the good news is at least I know where it is. So with that, let's get into the video. What's up, folks? Welcome back to the channel, and today, as I mentioned, we're finally going to tell the story on my Murcielago. This is a story that I've wanted to tell for a while and just never gotten around to filming it, talking about it, and really explaining what happened to the car. The short answer is I kind of got screwed over, but we'll get into how it all happened, because it's a little bit more than that. Now, for those who don't know or just started watching me, I used to own a 2004 Lamborghini Murcielago, and I bought it when I was 21, and it was my dream car. I mean, there's no other way of saying it. I even remember there was one video we did on Savage Garage. This was very early on in the channel, and Randy was picking up a white LP640 from Steve Waldy at Interstate Motorsport. And in that video, I even referenced, like, one day future Jimbo will drive a yellow first generation Murcielago, because that was the car on the cover of Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. That's where the love started. And at the beginning of February 2020, I pulled the trigger and the dream became a reality. To this day, it was my favorite day in all the time that I filmed for Savage Garage. The car was instantly nicknamed Big Bird before it even came off the flatbed when it was delivered. Like, the name was Big Bird. Look at that thing! Which side of the wheels were they like? It's Big Bird. I was over the moon, and it was a big car payment, but the thing was, I didn't care, because I was so happy, and I knew at that moment in time I could afford it, and it was an incredible feeling, because I never thought it was gonna happen anytime soon. I had never owned a car like that before. I had never had a car that was even remotely close in terms of being nice like that, or expensive. And it was a magical feeling, and it was everything I always wanted it to be. And then, it started to break. Well, it had to be you. Essentially, we pulled the drivetrain for 3 loose screws. Basically. Hey, bud, what happened? In fact, I even made a video on Savage Garage talking how much it cost in the first year to own that car. It was something ridiculous, like $70,000. And a lot of people, when they watched that, they went, oh my gosh, $70,000, you bought the worst car ever. And I mean, not far off, really, but a big chunk of that money, which a lot of people didn't realize, was I did end up putting another motor in the car, which was, I think it was about $27,000, something like that.
Huh? $430,000 in one fucking month.
Good morning. They're business expenses. Relax.
Business expenses?
Yes.
Jordy, look what you got here.
What?
Look at this. $26,000 for one fucking dinner.
Okay, no. This could be explained.
But the thing was about it, and maybe you guys can relate to this, but because I loved the car so much, I didn't care that it cost me that much money. I mean, I was just proud that I was able to swing the repair bills. You know, like that was where my head was at. I mean, I knew it was expensive to maintain, and I had some bad luck the first year I owned it. But by the time I had completely sorted it out, after that $70,000 was spent, the car really was solid. It was bulletproof, which would really make you wonder why I ended up selling it. At the beginning of 2021, I started looking for an Aventador, and the main reason was because being on the channel and being a personality, let's say, the car unfortunately had a habit of breaking when we would go out to film. Now, you could make the argument that I drove the car pretty hard, and I really didn't baby it as much as I should and treat it like what it is, which is a 20-year-old Lamborghini. You're right. 100% right, I didn't. I drove that car like it was a brand new car. But at the time, like where my head was, I was like, you know, this thing has become unreliable, and unfortunately, whenever we go out to film, it would cause inconveniences. And, you know, I would start to miss things wouldn't get captured on film because I was busy dealing with the Murcielago being broken. It started to get frustrating, like really frustrating, to the point where I even remember the last time it broke, it was at Street Speed's event. You know, you want to talk about channel history, but I blew the differential leaving his place trying to launch it. I I even remember when it happened, I went, this isn't gonna work. Like this something has to change. And it was painful. But you know, I knew that if I wanted to continue, I guess, my career trajectory of being a personality or something online, I really needed to get something a little bit more reliable. And everyone and their mother told me to buy a Huracan. I'm not gonna buy a Huracan. No, I'm never gonna buy a Huracan. And after a little while browsing at the beginning of 2021, I found the blue Aventador that I ended up buying. Once I found the blue Aventador, I had to get rid of the Murcielago. And you'd think, oh, well, you just traded it into the dealer, right, that you bought the Aventador from? No, you know, I put out a bunch of different feelers. I asked a whole bunch of different people if they wanted to purchase it. And eventually, a friend of a friend put together a deal for me and said, you know, this guy will buy your car, no questions asked, and he's gonna do it for cheap, but he will purchase it basically today. And it was gonna be for a number that I'm not even comfortable mentioning here because it was just embarrassingly low. But the condition was, I said, I'll sell it to you for this cheap, but you have to let me buy it back. Give me first buyback rights. And I said, give me 3 months, don't sell it to anybody else. The thought in my brain was, maybe I won't like the Aventador at all. Like, that does happen. I've met people that had an Aventador and ended up buying a Murcielago, or they had a Mercy, bought an Aventador, and then bought a Mercy again because they liked the way the Mercy drove, the way it felt. It's a much more analog car. I mean, just as a comparison in terms of complexity, the Aventador and the Murcielago, it's sort of like comparing the C5 to the C7. It's that big of a jump. Anyway, so I got the Aventador, and a little bit of time went by, and all of a sudden I got a text message. And it was a text message from a good friend of mine that she owns a stick shift Murcielago, and she sent me a Facebook post. And sure enough, it was for sale, and it wasn't for sale in the place that I sold it. It was for sale in California. It was in a different place. It had already exchanged hands. And I was, to say the least, I was furious. I was absolutely furious. Let this be a lesson to anyone that might be in a slightly similar position. Get it in writing. It could just be an email thread. It doesn't need to be a contract that's this thick. You know, it just get it in writing. Because sometimes in the car world, a man's word is, well, it doesn't mean jack shit. It doesn't mean anything. And in this case, that's kind of what happened. Just talking about it, it starts to annoy me again. But the thing was, at this point, it was kind of a while ago and I've moved on. Now, something I want to show you guys, and the first time I watched this, I'm not gonna lie, I teared up a little bit because this never ended up going anywhere on Savage Garage, the Clips channel at the time. It never became public. But I want to show you guys the last drive that I ever took in my Murcielago. And you know, I haven't seen the car since. I know where it is, and we'll get to that. But I want to show you guys the last drive in the car. Yeah, here we go. Yes. This is the last time it's leaving this garage for a while. Talk about something that I get asked almost every single time this car goes to a show and makes why I bought a car with an E-gear transmission. Despite the majority of people, I actually like this a lot more than the gated cars. When you're driving one of these E-gear cars, like every shift you have in the damn car, it's an event. And it really is, like, it's heavy, you feel it. You feel the car going through the motions of off the gas, changing the gear, engaging the clutch, disengaging it. That mechanical feeling that like everybody loves, like when you're driving a manual transmission car, going through the gears, those same motions. You don't get the same thing on this car, you get a different thing. And the different thing is what's such a cool, unique experience. We'll get off to speed here. And then listen to this, this is the best. You feel every single thing the car is doing when you hear that, man. Like, and you feel it in the car, the reverberations through all the car. It's not an unpleasant reverberation, you know, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get so tired of this. No, it's not. It's such a cool feeling. It doesn't feel like a normal car. My issue with some of the newer cars that are so fast with the dual clutch transmissions and whatnot, in a way they're almost too easy to drive. I think, personally, a supercar it should be a little inconvenient to drive. It should, like, you should have to think about all these extra things when you drive it. This is an inconvenient car. It is jerky, it can be unpleasant, it beats you up. Like, this is, after 45 minutes, this is one of those, you get out of the car and you go, all right. It does take a toll on you. And for me, a supercar, it should do that. Like, some people want a car to do everything. And if that's the case, you know, that's your prerogative, and, you know, if you want that, that's fine. Like, it's your car, your money. But for me, like, I love getting in a car every now and then, which is what I do with this car. Every now and then, I get in it, and it is nothing like my daily driver. This car is such an absolute inconvenience to drive, almost everywhere. There's not, like, I mean, it's a pain in the ass to park, and because the rear end is wider than the front, every time you back this damn thing up, you end up backing into the parking spot like cockeyed, because you're looking at the rear end, like the rear wheel and the quarter panel, and you're positioning that to be straight, and you end up sideways in the corner. This is a horribly inconvenient car to drive, and it really sucks. But not sucks like in a bad way. It's like sucks like, this is awesome, this is so stupid and dumb, and cars, like, this does such a bad job at being a passenger car. But it's so much fun to drive because of all of those things. Finally!
Kids loved it too.
Oh, did they?
Oh yeah, they were screaming.
I didn't know that was seagulls or kids. All the emotion that one associates with Lamborghini and the things that make me love supercars so much, they started with cars like this. You know, now you can flip two switches on the newer cars and you can make it, you know, ride like a race car or make it ride like a Rolls Royce. Like, that's cool, that's awesome, but the fact that you get in this and it's this and that's it, sort of like a race car. You get in a race car, it's a fucking race car, and that's all it is. Oh, that's another thing. This car doesn't have an automatic mode. It really is a semi-automatic. You can't press a button and it shifts automatically for you. You have to shift this thing manually. And I love that, because as a, you know, that's giving the driver zero option. You have to drive this thing, and you have to learn how to drive it. Just like you learned how to drive a stick shift, and at first it sucked because you didn't know how to drive it right, but then you learned, and then you understood why it was so nice to drive. When you learn how to drive an E-gear correctly, it is such an incredible pleasure. It's its own experience in itself. For me, there's driving an automatic car, there's driving a stick shift car, and then there's driving an E-gear car. That's how different these are. The number one question I get asked, as I mentioned, was where did my Murcielago go? And then the second question, when they find out and I tell them I sold it, the next thing they would ask me is, are you planning on buying it back? And the answer is absolutely. I know where it is right now. I tried to buy the car back. I had the dealer reach out to the person they sold it to, and we tried to put a deal together, but the guy just wasn't interested in selling it. And I don't blame him. Sir, whoever you are, you have an incredible car, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you put a lot of miles on it and enjoy every last minute of it. When it needs a clutch, I'd be happy to buy it from you, because I know it's coming up. But brakes too, probably. To the gentleman who owns the car right now, if you're watching, first of all, congratulations. I hope you're putting a lot of miles on the car and you're enjoying it, because it's a special car. It really is. It's got arguably the best exhaust ever for a Lamborghini Murcielago, first generation, Lamborghini Orange County exhaust, or LOC exhaust. You know, it's got primary cat delete pipes. It's got the original Speedline wheels. You know, it's amazing. Despite what people may say, and despite the fact that there's, 14 owners on the Carfax at this point, you have an incredible example of a Lamborghini Murcielago. And if you ever need anything, you have any questions about the service, if you want service records for the car, I'd be happy to give those to you. I also have the factory airbox for the car. I also have all the original parts to convert it back to four-wheel drive, because I converted it to two-wheel drive right when I got it. I also have the original owner's manual. So if you want any of that stuff, please contact me. I'll put my information, like my email on screen here, so you can reach out. But all I ask is just, when you're considering selling it, if you are planning on selling it at all, please make me the first person you call, or at least the dealer you sold it to, so they can call me. But, you know, that car is like, that's Big Bird. And Big Bird, I'm glad Big Bird is living on. To know it's running, it's driving, and it's being enjoyed by another fellow car enthusiast, it makes me happy. So even though I don't have it right now, I'm glad somebody does and somebody's enjoying it. So with all of that, that's about it for the Murcielago. Would I buy a different one, another one? I don't think so. I mean, that car is so special to me. There's so many miles and so many things that car makes me think of, just so many happy and good memories. So one day, I hope that I can get the opportunity to buy it back, and when I do, you will see it here. So with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. We've got a lot more coming up on the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.
Bumblebee that's just hovering around in the dark.
This is the closest thing I have to my motorcycle.
Why don't you get right beside him?
Let's take the doors off the Mazda. I've been wanting to do that for years.